Welcome to these sci-fi guys. I'm your host again, is Dave, and with me again, as always, is my buddies Chad and John tonight. Tonight, we're going to be, as you guys saw in the little thing when it popped up real quick, we're going to be talking about Demolition Man. All right, Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone, and um, I can never remember her name. My wife always has to slap
Sandra
on.
Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. Thank you guys. And Sandra Bullock were the big three stars in this. Oh, click the wrong button there. Remove. There we go. To start things out, let me do something a little different tonight. I'm going to give you a little synopsis of the movie in case you just wanted to watch this podcast and just to see our faces and just love us to death and then go watch the movie later on. But just figure we'll give you a little synopsis real quick. All right. So this movie is based. A beginning of the movie is 1996. Okay, you've got a career criminal, Simon Phoenix. He kidnaps a busload of people. Okay. Little do we know at the time, they're already dead. But LAPD Sergeant John Spartan, which is nicknamed the Demolition Man because of basically he leaves nothing but destruction in his path. Right. So uh, they end up capturing Phoenix, but at the same time, the lawyers or whoever decide that hey, John Spartan also needs to go ahead and go to jail for this. So they actually are cryogenically frozen. So now, fast forward in the movie, it's 2032, and we're now in San Angelines, uh, which is basically a megalopolis of Los Angeles, San Diego, and Santa Barbara. Basically, oh, it's a beautiful utopia. I mean, everything is wonderful. It reminds me of COVID-19 because no one can touch anyone. They don't even want to high five. I mean, I got a lot of COVID-19 vibes. I mean, here it is. It's 2023, but I got a lot of vibes from watching this. Uh, so anyway, so Phoenix is being thought out for a parole hearing. And again, this is a plot point that didn't make any sense to me because at the beginning it said he was put in for life. So why are they having a parole hearing? I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Okay, so he escaped from the prison because he had a secret password without knowing how he learned it. But he was able to murder the guards, the warden, make his way to the city. He overpowers and kills several police officers. And of course, all these police officers that are there, they've never dealt with any kind of violent crime. Everything's utopia. Everything is wonderful. It's just be good to each other. I mean, it's it's wild. All right, so okay, of course we already said Dr. Cocteau is the one that's basically in charge of this whole utopia. He's the one that kind of built it. All right, so he had told the police officers to go ahead and apprehend Phoenix by any means possible. He's the one that released him. So why did he tell the police to do it at any means possible? I don't know. Again, another plot point that didn't make any sense to me. So there just happened to be an older veteran there, Zachary Lamb. He's the one who said, "Hey, how about Demolition Man?" He's the one that actually caught him the first time. And of course, there's Lieutenant Huxley, and she just loves anything about the 20th century. She's like, "Yeah, we got to get this guy out. Oh, he's awesome." Blah, blah. So anyway, so long story short, they reinstate him to active duty. Uh, Spartan knew that Phoenix was going to go ahead and secure firearms. That's the first thing he's going to do. And they were like, "Where would that be?" The museum. So they go to the museum where exhibit of weapons. Now, answer me this: you're on an exhibit of weapons. Why are you going to have the ammo right there with the weapon too? Makes no sense. Again, plot point makes no sense. I know this was a movie of the early 90s, but doesn't make sense. Anyway, so uh, he escapes all that, gets away. He tries to go ahead and kill Cocteau, but then he realizes that Cocteau implanted something in his head that says, "You cannot kill me." Um, and he wants him to go kill this other guy, and I've lost my place. place on my sheet here. Uh,
Edgar Friendly.
yeah, Friendly. Thank you, Friendly. He wanted to kill Friendly because Friendly and his group of scraps don't conform to Cocktail's moral ideals, and they live underground and they steal food and all this other stuff. Um, so Spartan and Huxley see this on the security cameras, and they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute, we don't think this is right." And anyway, they pursue. Phoenix pursues Cocteau to release additional cryo prisoners. This is a good thing, right? Yeah, this is going to go over well. All right. Um, to help kill Edgar Friendly. And in the meantime, Spartan and Huxley venture underground to save Friendly, and then by an assassination attempt by Phoenix and his gang. Well, because Phoenix cannot harm Cocteau, he has Jesse the Body Ventura, yes, that former governor, to kill him. Says, I can't shoot him, you do it. Throws him the gun and lets him shoot it. All right. So again, I lost my place here. All right. So basically, at the now we're in the final scene. They're trying to release all these other bad criminals, Jeffrey Dahmer, stuff like that. And Spartan basically he knocks out Huxley and says it's for your own good, and then goes and basically there's a big fight. Uh, he smashes one of the bottles of the cryo freeze stuff. It freezes Phoenix, and he magically hits him in the head, smashes it, and then jumps out of the way and gets out. And then now they're all concerned. Oh no, what's going to happen? Life as we know it isn't anything. And he's like, you'll figure it out. And then him and Huxley kiss, which was ew. I'm sorry, they're almost 20 years apart. That was just weird. So that was a synopsis. I know it was ugly, but what'd y'all think? I mean, what'd y'all think of the movie? You know, I see a lot of rubbing heads like, oh no.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I love the movie. I mean, I've watched this movie plenty, millions of times because I love Stallone. It's just the '90s humor, not the '90s stuff in there that what draws me to it really. So I like it. But yeah, you're right. Bullock and Stallone kissing at the end, age difference.
Oh yeah. I mean, they were. I actually looked it up. They're 18 years difference,
Hmm.
and you could tell in the movie she looked like a young 20-year-old, and he looked like mid 40s. I
At
mean,
the,
it just, ugh,
at the
it
time of
just
filming,
no.
she was 28.
Yeah, well, she looked younger than that, and actually,
Yeah.
she was not the first actress that was actually did some
No,
filming. They did some filming with someone from Tank Girl, which
I
I've never even
I,
seen that
I
movie.
got something on that.
Okay,
So Sandra Bullock was brought in to play Huxley as actress, but Laurie Petty left the role several days into filming. So it was
yeah,
actually so
and
the
they said
reason
they
for
couldn't. They couldn't. There was like there was no chemistry between her and Stallone.
no, so the reason well, they say the thing I lost saw the reason for her departure was said to be creative differences.
Oh, and I see. It's the one I read that actually said that they just there was no chemistry between the two of them, and they were like, "No, we can't make this work." So, John, we kind of talked over you. John, what did you think of the movie overall?
Honestly, again, high entertainment value. I definitely enjoyed it. A lot of action, a lot of good things going on. Uh, Definitely, like you said, Chad, that '90s golden age of layering of comedy and action and all of that going on. But I enjoyed the basic idea. I enjoyed the idea of kind of time travel through freezing and the implications that might have if things go awry. Overall, enjoyable film.
Okay, Chad. Well, Chad's got some questions for us, so go ahead and go ahead and
All right,
start.
so let's not the real hard one out there. I know me and Dave was talking this before we started, but the what was the demolition based on? Was they a book? Did they draw inspiration from them for this movie?
I actually, the only thing I saw is there was something for it. There was like two books, and I don't remember the second one. I remember the first one was Strange New Worlds. It was based on that, and honestly, I couldn't tell you anything about it because I haven't read the book.
I'll say the other one I saw was Fate of the Dead, which was in another language from what I
Oh,
looked
okay.
up, and that's about as
Fight.
much
It
as I
was
got.
actually Fight of the Dead back in the
Fight
'86.
of the Dead. There you go. Okay.
A Hungarian science fiction writer, Istvan Nip. I'm going to butcher that, so it's just. But it was it's based off a bunch of books, but just to me that's what I found was a Fight of the Dead back in '86. So somebody wrote something similar to what this movie was based about. So with that said, yeah, any with that said, so the second one I have was the movie was made back in '93, but it opened up in a scene in California, Los Angeles, L.A. of California in '96. But the scene was opened up with fires at an old airport. It's all the stuff was on fire. You notice the helicopter pilots that they used to land airplanes here. So why was it they from 3 years like they made it look like it was post-apocalyptic world in LA for that time? John?
I mean, ultimately, have you met anything to do with LA, past or current? It's a wild town and it's rapidly changing all the time. I mean, I could see why they would think in 3 years things would uh, kind of devolve into an apocalyptic place. I mean, you got the classic songs like Hotel California that say how it devolves, and you have just all of this culture around California and especially LA where it just evolves very quickly. And again, that basic form of humanity where people are crazy, I could see where they would think it might turn into apocalyptic town in that 3 year span. But at the same time, maybe they were just trying to relate to a crowd who wanted it to be said at the same time as them. But that's my best shoot at it.
Yeah. What about you, Dave? You muted.
Thank you. I'm just going to echo what John said because I had no idea why. I mean, I just it was basically the seat of where you know Hollywood and all that other garbage and stuff goes on right now. We're here in Rinky Dink, Georgia. Making a podcast about a movie that was released 20, 30 years ago. But no, I can't add anything else that John did. So let's
No.
go on to your next question.
All right. So, well, the last movie we watched was the what was it?
Total Recall.
Total Recall, and we discussed in there how Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone in this time period was like going back to back casting for movies. So, could you see? This is a two part. Could you see Sylvester Stallone playing Demolition Man in this movie?
You mean Arnold? I could see
Yeah.
Arnold playing in this. Yes, I could for sure. And actually, I think I said it wrong on the last movie. I said they were friends, and then the more research I did for this movie is no, they were not friends at all. They
No.
couldn't stand each other. And and it's funny is Sylvester is a year older than Arnold. Um, and just I don't know. I got a kick out of the line, with the Schwarzenegger becoming president,
Yeah.
and then he's
That was
like, "What? Schwarzenegger become president?" And it's funny. There actually was right after this movie. There was a senator in Utah. This was in 2003. So when this was, he wanted to add to the U.S. Constitution called an Equal Opportunity to Govern Amendment and thought it would soon earn the nickname the Arnold Amendment. It would do away with the native born requirement as long as the candidate had been for 20 years a citizen of the United States. Well, that crashed and burned. It didn't go through. So, but it was still, these two just kind of fought all the time.
yeah.
And yeah, I could see Arnold doing this, I'm not sure who during that period, other than, I mean, maybe like a Sigourney Weaver back then, I think could have been, because they're a little bit closer in age. I think that would have been a kind of cool combination between the two of them. John, what's your thought on this?
I mean, I definitely think both would be swappable in either film. They're just, your big muscular guys from back in the 90s and that era of film. I think either one could have handled the big tough guy role. I definitely think this one seems almost a little more fitting of Stallone, just in the sense that, like, I don't know, he tended to have the, I guess, more rugged feel to him, whereas Arnie used to have just kind of the big buff, like, I'm
Arnold
gonna
was
kill
Mr.
you kind of
Universe,
big,
yeah.
staring, towering power.
I am
Stallone just kind of had that big,
Arnold.
like,
That's
oh,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm here to pump you up. Yeah.
yeah.
And
So I definitely see
then you got
Stallone fitting
Sylvester.
this role better, but
Yeah,
huh?
Sylvester Stallone definitely filled this role better, but I kept waiting for the Adrian, but we never got that. So
No.
luckily,
No, no.
That's the thing is, I can see Arnold in this, but Stallone did a great job with this movie. Especially if you do every movie like something that is close to this, even something like Dread, Judge Dredd. He, you should see that.
oh,
So
that's on my list for sure.
yeah, it's on my list.
I love Dredd, or the original Judge Dredd.
Yeah, the
The second
original,
one was
not the new one.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
John
you
John
were.
hasn't seen it yet, so he's like, "What?"
Also correct.
Like I said, go watch the '90s Stallone. So,
We're bringing you all the way back, all this stuff back. A funny thing: Wesley Snipes was actually not the first one they interviewed for
no,
this. They actually
I
interviewed.
got I got
Okay,
that.
go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
they're not.
Let's see if you get the same as what I got.
They went to Jackie Chan.
Yep.
And the reason that Jackie Chan didn't do it, he said, I did not want to play a bad guy.
And he also said American safety equipment was not nearly up to snuff as for the movies that he did, and the way that basically for safety wise, he's like, no, you guys are not nearly as good as the way the movies I do.
What the thing
And
is,
that was the main thing. He didn't want to be a bad guy. He never wanted to play a bad guy.
no. And the thing is, Jackie Chan did his almost stunts in a lot of his movies. So
Yeah.
you got anything else, John?
No, not on that front. Although I did find it interesting. I think it was Snipes with the blonde hair that he absolutely hated. So, like, the last day of filming, he kind of just, you don't like
Yeah.
me. So,
And it's funny is Dennis Rodman, the
Yeah.
basketball player, ended up starting to do the colored hair right after this movie because he loved it. He's like, "Oh yeah, black man with some colored hair, yeah, that's awesome. Let's do it." And Snipes hated it.
Yeah, he didn't like it.
Well, fun fact here's one. Actually, I knew Wesley Snipes' dad. I never met Wesley Snipes, but I knew his dad. I was stationed at Charleston Air Force Base back in the early '90s, and his dad actually worked in the engine shop on the base as a
That's cool.
civilian. Yeah, he was a super nice guy, super nice guy. So anyway, go on with your next thing.
All right, so this one will make you think a little bit more. It don't have to be new or old. It's gonna be you can go new or old if you know the answer. What movie else using cryo freezing to freeze prisoners or even just time travel?
I mean,
John?
jokingly, I want to say Frozen. Uh, but I definitely think the kind of, I mean, the Star Wars classic is still more carbon. It's not necessarily freezing per se. I mean, you have plenty of pop culture references and reference to Disney and his freezing of, his head or whatever. But it's hard to think of anyone who really freezes prisoners per se outside of Star Wars. That was the first one that popped in my head when I saw the question.
Yeah, I couldn't really think of a. I really couldn't think of a prisoner thing. The one I thought of was Mel Gibson's movie Forever Young.
Yeah, that's
Basically,
out.
they were doing a cryo test, and he was a pilot, and he froze in 1939, and then he woke in 1992.
Yeah, but
Um, the only other one I would say, and it's not a prisoner, was Steve Rogers for the Avengers. Because he was flying the plane, and he ended up ditching it into the ice, and then they find his shield, and then they thaw him out, and then he's like, with the list, hey, what's this? What's this? What's this?
All right.
But I
Here's
can't think of any other prisoners. Sorry.
here's one. It's made in 2002. Had actor Tom Cruise in it, called Minority Report.
I remember that movie. Yeah, it was a good movie.
Yeah, because they capture them and they actually freeze them to kind of freeze them in place. But thing is, there's not quite a lot of movies that does this. But the thing is, t- think about it. Freeze yourself to travel in time.
Well, yeah, a lot of times they do that. Is like 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's how they basically. It's like a suspended animation. Planet of the Apes did something like that. So when they wanted to travel great distances. Heck, I'm watching a TV show right now called The Ark, and that's how it was. Everyone was in cryogenic sleep until something happened to the ship, and then they lost the whole crew, or at least they lost all the officers. So now it's all the lower class people running the thing.
And we
It's
also
pretty. Go ahead.
remember we watched Interstellar. They froze themselves, kind of cryogenic
Yeah,
sleep.
you're right. Yeah, I mean it's but there wasn't. I couldn't think of any real prisoners other than what John said about Han Solo. The
Yeah.
whole. Yeah. Yeah.
So this one, I don't really know the answer to, but I had this question when I watched it the first time. Had the same question when I watched it this time, but I had to go look it up. And kind of there's somebody already done this question on here, but it said, "Do anybody know what the three shells in the bathroom supposed to do?"
No idea. I think it's just a great gag because honestly, that is the one thing I knew from the film. And when it popped up, I was like, oh, I've at least heard that part. So, I mean, if nothing else, that survived the annals of time.
Yeah, I mean, it was. It's just it's a funny thing. I read this Daniel Walters. He was the screenwriter, and basically they asked him. They said, "Hey, we need something futuristic that you would find in a restroom." He called up a friend that was a screenwriter who was in the bathroom at the time when he called him and said, "Hey, I'm looking for an idea to use in a restroom." So the friend looked around the bathroom and said, "I have a bag of seashells on my toilet as a decoration." And he's like, "Okay, I'll make something out of that." And that's how they became. And I actually saw something, I think it was on Looper or one of those, where it said, they asked a question to Sylvester Stallone, they asked it uh um to everybody else, even what's the side character, the white guy that was he's a comedian. I can't even think of his name.
Me
Anyway,
neither.
Is it
so
Schneider?
Schneider, yeah, Schneider, yeah, thank you. And even they even asked him and stuff, and they were like, "Well, maybe you take one to scrape it and one to scoop it and the other one to clean it." I don't know, but I was just like, "Whatever, dude." I thought it was a really funny joke where he just started cussing, and to get the paper so he'd have
Yeah.
something to actually use.
See, that's the thing. I love the one I watched that said the same thing about the friend that told him, "I got a bunch of seashells in my bathroom." But it's like he said in there, well, it's probably the one to grab it, pull out, and the other one just straight to be clean. I'm like, yeah, that's still they don't want. But that was a genius out there. Oh, I'm gonna get paid for just saying cuss words. I'm gonna start doing it. All right, I see you in a minute.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
So we're gonna say that they remade this movie. What actors in today's times could you see playing Stallone, Snipes, and Edgar Friendly, Bullock, all the kind of characters you see mostly there? Who can you see playing them?
I
Oh,
don't know. I actually thought about this a little bit, and um, I kind of think the I don't know. I kind of first of all I thought Dwayne Johnson. I thought he would have been a good, you know, he could have pulled it off. Um, and then but I think Edgar Friendly needs to have a little bit. Um, I don't know. I think it needed to be a little bit more comedic, a little bit, not have John Spartan be all the comedy and all of it. Him
Yeah.
and Snipes. I think it would be very hard to find someone that could pull off what Snipes did. I mean, my mind is drawing a
Maybe
blank right now.
maybe Hugh Jackman or Ryan Reynolds from the modern era.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see Ryan Reynolds. I mean, you see enough of him in Deadpool and
Yeah.
some of the stuff that he pulls off. I could see him definitely doing that.
Yeah, he's a little too not rugged. He's a little too pretty for that role.
Well,
Probably, yeah.
I can see if he was still alive, Bozeman, Chadwick.
Yeah, I could see that.
Not for Snipes, but more for like the Spartan,
like Edgar Friendly or Spartan or something. Yeah. I mean, you could. The problem is, I mean, we can answer this on. I mean, we've used the same names over and over again, because I mean, they're obviously they're really good actors that are out there right now. I think the biggest issue that you're going to run into is going to be, you're going to definitely have to do a lot of rewrite because it's not the 90s. I mean, if you look at the 90s and the way things were and just the way movies were, I mean, you saw in my little synopsis, I mean, there was so many plot holes and people are going to find that. I mean, if you haven't watched honest trailers, they're pretty funny. Most of the time they're like, everything that's wrong with a movie, they will tell you what's wrong with the movie. And usually it's like 20 minutes or so, but it's pretty funny. Most of the stuff it's like, oh yeah, that makes total sense.
See,
I did not watch the one for this one though. I'm sure it's pretty, I'm sure they say something about the seashells. So
another one we haven't mentioned, got to play Jack's Taylor, Charlie.
Churzon?
No. He played in what's the movie? Pacific Rim as one of the characters. Charlie. Hold up.
Anyway, yeah. All I can think of is what's his name? Alba.
Ilba.
Anyway,
Eldris.
Ilba. Yeah. He's the only one that was in. He was in the second Pacific Rim, so that's the only one I can think of right now that you're talking about. While you're
Charlie. Charlie Hunnam.
Okay.
Blonde,
yeah.
blonde hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I could see him kind of in that.
Snipes.
No, I was thinking more of the friendly role.
Yeah.
Something different. But
Yeah, like, it's just something rugged. Like you don't want him to be too neat, but you want him to be like, hey,
see, I don't. When you mentioned Hugh Jackman earlier, I don't think he would do. I mean, everyone is going to compare him to Wolverine. I mean, that's either that or.
But that is the comparison. Old, rugged, ragged.
Okay, yeah, okay, I can see that. But I mean, also, I don't know. I just every time I see him, I mean, even in that, what is it, the greatest musical or the greatest showman that he's in, I mean, I'm like, I just kept waiting for the claws to come out, It's like, no, dude.
I'm a mutant. I'm a mutant too.
Yeah, I mean, he is definitely one of those people that has become stereotyped to a certain role.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey basically plays the same role in every movie.
Yeah.
There's so many ones. I could go on a tangent with this, but go on with your next question. We're
All
ready.
right. So the last question I got, and I got a few. Well, here's this. I got a few little tidbit stuff I found out. The late actor Nigel Hawthorne that played Raymond Cotto, his next theatrical role was The Madness of the King George III, which would receive an Oscar nomination. So I just thought I'd mention that. The Sting did a song called Demolition Man.
I did not know that. Well, I'm trying to remember that song. It's my generation. I know Sting.
Yeah. So he provided information for the film's title. So, and he re-recorded a version especially for the end credits for the song for this movie.
I don't even remember the end credits. I think I turned it off before they came
I don't
through.
want to.
I mean, unless it's an Avengers or I Google and say, is there an after credit scene? I don't I don't
All
stay
right.
for the credits.
So you see where Katya invites Spartan to go to fine dining at Taco Bell. As a running, so in there it says Taco Bell, but I found something that they rewrote and CGI'd over to make it say Pizza Hut.
Yeah, that was actually for international. In America, it was for Taco Bell, but all your international Taco Bell was not as big in the early '90s. It was becoming bigger, but it wasn't nearly as a big of a chain.
Yeah.
So your international movies, all of them had Pizza Hut. So yeah, it was pretty funny.
Which is such an interesting thing overall. Of all the things in the 90s we could have been known for, and it was Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut, exactly.
Pizza Hut. Nobody,
But
nobody at Pizza Hut.
I mean, I think of Little Caesars, pizza or something like that. But I mean, and what's funny? I did see something at a Comic Con a few years ago. They actually had it catered by a Taco Bell, and they came up there and they did it just like Demolition Man. They had it; it was like super fine dining. They had somebody in there singing the music of like old commercials and stuff, which that would just drive me nuts. I know they were loving it. Oh, this is my favorite station. Of course, I was like John, just like, oh, shoot me now, just put me back in. Like, no, 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 no. I mean, that was good. I think I would definitely, I mean, if we're modernizing it, if we're changing anything, I for sure would. Um, I don't know. I mean, I just
Yeah.
that that
Let's
just
get
doesn't make any sense to me.
so
Taco
let
Bell would win.
so let's get to this. Last question. I got a couple more little fun facts, but last question of the night was so what we always ask this question. So what would you change about this movie? So Dave, you was going on it. So you want to go with it?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I will. Let me. All right. So first off, uh, yeah, obviously Taco Bell would not be the restaurant. I thought it was kind of a funny. I mean, depends on what you're looking at. If you're trying to make it funny, yeah, I could see it. Uh, you know, but to me, it would be something like if you really wanted to make funny, I kind of would say, okay, Hooters is the one that wins, or something along that line, or Texas Roadhouse or something along that. Uh, some of the other stuff, for sure. If you're going to make a relationship between, Spartan and Huxley, make them closer in age. Make them. They seemed very stiff in the movie. I know that they were they were only as good as the writers made them.
Hmm.
I just I would change that again. Fix the plot points, fix the plot holes. Okay, why are you? It to me. Okay, he escaped because there was an error. There's something happened to the cryogenic freezing, um, and it accidentally recycled him rather than someone else. You know, things like that. I would do. Make it
Yeah.
where it's got to be a little bit more difficult for him to one be able to get weapons, um, and just I think just his whole reanimation thing should be different, and take the whole thing about the doctor utopian garbage out of there. That's just that he's the one that unfroze him and all. No, 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 that's dumb. Just make it okay. You got unfroze by accident. All right, now we're gonna find somebody to get rid of you. That's my say. John, how about you? You're next.
I mean, for me, I think my big change would be more of the time travel side. I think it would have been interesting to see a similar plot line, but with either intentional time travel or maybe kind of the classic chase through time, and maybe they get stuck in that utopia. I think it could have been interesting to see kind of the dynamics of an intentional time travel film, and I think that would have been interesting overall. Um, Otherwise, I'm with you on the plot holes. It would be nice to see reasoning behind stuff, and I guess that's where my idea for the intentional time travel kind of comes from. But overall, I mean, it's still good. It's still entertaining. Plenty there to do and see. The action was good, so I wouldn't change a whole lot of that. So overall, I might just change it to an intentional time travel film.
Yeah, I agree. The plot holes. It's always been going plot holes in these '90s movies because that's what it was. I would have loved to see not got to be the one, be his assistant. That I'm going to help my boss out by doing this. That made him the one that done it in a kind of program. So other than that, it's just main plot holes. Change the food things and talk about something else. But other than that, that's about it. I wouldn't change much the action point. But
I really like your idea of having the assistant do it. I think that would be pretty cool. And he knew nothing about it, and then yeah, that would be a pretty cool. I'd watch that.
so here's this. You saw in Bullock's office, there's a lot of 90s memorabilia of movie posters. Goes back in those in 20th century time. Did you see a poster that was up of was came out about that same time?
I don't remember seeing one. I
Mel
mean,
Gibson and Danny Glover.
oh yeah, Lethal Weapon. Yes, I did see Lethal Weapon up there.
3.
3. Okay. Okay, I missed that.
So
So
it's just the stuff that goes in there is I attention to it. So I like.
yeah,
So,
I did like some of that. One thing, let me jump in here. It
yeah,
also, they did have they did film some of Sylvester meeting his daughter, and they actually cut it out of the movie. They said it was too sentimental, it was too nice, and it was basically, it was a tearjerker, and they were like, no, we don't want this for this movie. And they actually had talked about doing a sequel with Meryl Streep being his daughter.
no,
Because think about it, it's 32 years later.
no, I don't like Meryl Streep. I'm sorry.
Oh, oh man, I do. I think she's good in some of her movies,
Well,
but
some of
that
her movies, but I just don't. I like the actor and what
she
the
was
way.
she was good in Red. All
Yeah,
right, that was about Red and Red 2. Those are like the only two things I think I like her in. But I could see them if they wanted to reboot it or go on and go with that. So it's not so campy and it's not so 90s.
yeah,
That would be kind of neat to at least nowadays to see that. I know he's like, oh, I wouldn't want to. Wouldn't you? I mean, it's your daughter, even though she's older than you, it would still be cool. I mean, even you go back and see what we did with Interstellar. He still wanted to see his daughter, even though
yeah,
she was ancient, you know, he still wanted to see her.
yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, that
Did I
was.
get you off your train of thought? Sorry.
Yeah, but the thing is, think about it. He even said that you could do this for me, and he even said, "Yeah, it'll be too emotional for me to do it." So, other than all of this, it's a pretty decent movie with all the little small little plot holes.
Well, yeah. I mean, the movie itself was entertaining.
Yeah,
The older I get is when I notice the plot holes.
yeah. See,
And I mean, and I'm sorry, I shoot guns a lot. I have my own, I have several of my own, and I'm sorry, he would have missed every time, diving and going.
yeah.
No, that doesn't work, dude. It doesn't work.
So the train of thought I lost, I just had. You said utopia. Every movie we watch that has a utopia government never works because the head guy wants to change something, but the only way to change it is to make it corrupt. So
Yeah.
it never fails. So
Oh yeah. I
utopia,
mean, you look at Star Trek. Star Trek's
yeah,
the same way. Everything's, oh, it's wonderful, it's great. We don't need money, we don't need religion, we don't need this. But yet there's always some admiral that's crooked as all get out.
yeah.
So is that everything? Is that
That's every,
everything, guys?
unless John's
That's
got something else
everything.
to add.
John, you got any final thoughts before I say what's the next movie that you picked out?
No overall thoughts other than thanks for another great watch on the first run through. So got more to add to my list.
Oh yeah, these are great. Some of these older movies are really fun, And speaking of older movie, we're gonna go back to 1987. All right. We watched on here not that long ago. We watched Buckaroo Banzai. Right? You guys, and that was one of y'all's favorite. You said you just loved it to death. Well, Buckaroo Banzai is in our next movie. He is RoboCop. All right. Is what we're watching now. We're going to watch the first RoboCop movie, and there's several of them, but we're just going to watch the first one just because some of the other ones were kind of eh. So the first one was really good, though. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you guys, what? So John, have you seen it? I know you picked this out. Have you seen it yet, or you just kind of went through titles and said, "Hey, that looks good"?
In terms of the grander scheme of things, I know it's one of the more popular titles in the world of sci-fi, and I haven't seen it, so why not add it to my list?
You will enjoy it. I mean, there are some weird aspects,
Hmm.
and then it was rated R back
Yeah.
in '87. So it was considered, and it wasn't so much there was language a lot, but it was mostly the
Violence.
gore. There is a lot of violence. There is a lot of blood and stuff. You'll see. But
Say love you.
yeah, but it's yeah, definitely we will enjoy this one. I didn't get to say it earlier, but let me throw the banner up here. If you guys want to follow the show, anyone wants to follow the show, we are on Twitter, or I put in parentheses, it's called X now. My app on my phone finally updated, and now it's X. Um, it's still a weird looking font and everything, but
Yeah.
we are at these sci-fi guys on there. You can email us, these sci-fi guys at gmail.com. And you can also find us right here on this YouTube channel that we're going to have this on. And you guys can put in the comments if you like the synopsis. If we don't need to do it, it did make this one a little bit longer than normal. So if you guys don't want to hear it, we won't do it. It's all up to you guys. So with that, everybody, I appreciate y'all, and peace out.